Welcome to High Writing Threads, and today we are going to be talking about Signal. But I wanted to say I am rebooting this channel. I had created one video a long time ago and hadn't created anything since. My plan is to start putting more content on this channel, and I had initially thought, hey, I'm going to do like tech and philosophy, but I'm changing that. I'm just going to do just tech on this channel. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the Signal app. Okay, so over the years, I've come to see the importance of keeping your information private. I think I used to think, well, hey, if you don't have anything to hide, well, then what's the point of trying to hide your information? Or why don't you just put it out there? That was stupid, right? The idea that you have to do something wrong in order for your information to be used wrongly is false. That's just not the case. And the older I've gotten, the more I've just realized that, yeah, you need to try to keep your information as private as possible. And to that end, I think one of the things I started doing was using Signal. I think it's a great app, and it's something that I want to talk about today for those of you who might be looking to do the same kind of thing, to have your conversations with people to be more private. So I think one of the reasons why people would shift to Signal is because of one, like it or not, our culture has become so highly politicized that things people might say now, 6 months down the road, might be unacceptable, and all of a sudden they're canceled or whatever, right? So whatever. That's one reason. Another reason might be you're sending sensitive data, right? So if you send sensitive data to someone, say a password or personally identifiable information, you want to keep that secret. And to send that over, say, instant messenger or just over an SMS text, that's not a good way to do that. That's one reason why you might turn to something like Signal for your messaging app. Some really great things about Signal are, one, it's open source, it's end-to-end encrypted, and the end-to-end encryption is set up automatically, right? Like it's not an option in the application. That's just what it does. And it's got a really cool disappearing messages feature that I like. The nice thing about open source is that you can download the code yourself and inspect it if you want. Now, if you're not a coder or a developer, that may not be that helpful to you because you don't know what you're seeing. But the fact is that other people in the community can look at that code and verify whether or not there's any vulnerabilities or problems with that code. So that's one of the big advantages to open source code. Again, open source code, there can actually be bad stuff in open source code, but at least it's something that the community can open up and look at and see and then talk about. And it's usually developed by a community rather than a corporation. So the idea is typically that when it's open source code and it's developed by a community, there's more of a tendency for it not to be created for some kind of profit or maybe nefarious purposes or purposes that just aren't good for the consumer. Okay, so let's talk about encryption, right? I think most people know what encryption is, but just in case you don't, if you sent a unencrypted message, text message to someone, you can see here in the PowerPoint slide, you send, did you watch the news last night? And the person texts back, I don't know, I don't watch news anymore, it's too depressing. Right, if you sent that in an unencrypted format, then somebody could literally just either see that on a server or in a packet capture or something like that, just like you wrote it. Okay, so that's bad. Encrypted is there's a key that's used to encrypt that message and then make it look something like the text message below, the encrypted message, something that's not easily readable. In order to get that encrypted message encrypted, to take it from, did you watch the news last night, to the encrypted message, you need some kind of key. And to decrypt it, you need that key to decrypt it, to turn it back into the message, did you watch the news last night? Okay, that's great. So encryption turns the message into something unreadable, and you can't turn it into something readable without the key. You need to have that. The question then becomes, who has the key? You might have an encrypted text message that's sent from your phone to someone else's phone through a server, and it might even be encrypted on that server. But if the company that owns those servers has the key that is used to encrypt your message, they can decrypt your message. Encrypting your message is great in that someone who just intercepts your message isn't going to be able to read it. But the worry now is more the company that receives the message and sends it on to the next phone. Are they reading it, and what are they doing with that information? So that's the kind of thing that you also want to look at. Not just is it encrypted, but is the company able to decrypt that message and look at it? When you look at Telegram, for example, if you see here, it's encrypted, but it's not completely open source, and two, the service has access to the encryption keys that you use, so they could decrypt your stuff. Now, maybe you don't care if that company can decrypt your stuff, but you should at least know that they can do that, right? Now, WhatsApp claims that it doesn't do that it claims that it does have this end-to-end encryption, that they don't even have your key to be able to decrypt your messages. But as you can see in this article, WhatsApp's new privacy policy requires you to share data with Facebook. Now, that doesn't mean that they are decrypting your stuff. What that means is that there is additional data whenever you use their servers and you send messages through their servers. There's additional data that's associated with that. It could be timestamps, it could be IP addresses, it could be many different things, account user information, and that information is the kind of information that they're pulling. So while the message itself may be encrypted, the metadata associated with that is captured. So when WhatsApp says something like they do in the bottom corner here, end-to-end encrypted messages are stored on your device and not WhatsApp servers after they are delivered, you shouldn't take that to mean that they're not collecting any information about you when you use their service. They are. They're saying that the message itself is encrypted. Okay, great. You also shouldn't take that to mean that your messages don't go through their servers or aren't on their servers for a time. They are. If you notice here, it says your messages. When it says we do not retain your messages in the ordinary course of providing our services to you. Instead, your messages are stored on your device and not typically stored on our servers. Once your messages are delivered, they are deleted from our servers. The following scenarios describe circumstances where we may store your messages in the course of delivering them. So these messages hit these servers, and they might be in a queue if they can't be delivered or something like that. And eventually they'll keep trying, and once they are deliverable to the other person you're trying to send that message to, it should be deleted. The other is if you have a media forwarding. So if you have something that you're forwarding to, like a picture or something like that, you're forwarding to another friend, well, that media stays on their server for some amount of time. With the undelivered message, it says a max of 30 days. With media forwarding, it doesn't give you an amount of time, so it's not clear how long that message or that data is on that server. So while this may be end-to-end encrypted, it doesn't mean that they're not gathering information about you. It doesn't mean that they don't store some information about you and even sometimes content of your messages on their servers for a period of time. Okay, so with WhatsApp, you have end-to-end encryption, and I believe it actually even uses the Signal protocol, but there is a good amount of information that's collected about you besides your messages that you're sending when you use their service. On the other hand, Signal has end-to-end encryption, and as far as I know, it only stores your phone number. And one positive, it's not owned by Facebook, which is good. It's not owned by a corporation. It's actually owned by it's an organization. Okay, what about iPhone and when you send text messages on that? Well, if you're sending over SMS or MMS, it's not encrypted at all. Like, you're just sending messages that are unencrypted. You can, however, change that setting so that you're using iMessage, and those messages are encrypted. And I guess it is end-to-end encryption between the two users. However, if you use the iCloud backup feature, your data is backed up to iCloud and it is encrypted, but they actually do have that key. So there's at least a potential for them, if you are using iCloud backup, to be able to decrypt your information. Okay, so getting back to Signal, we have a few notes here. Signal never syncs conversations with a cloud, right, which is nice. And here, the icing on the cake is the fact that Signal does not allow its working database to be backed up locally via iTunes or third-party tools, not even into an encrypted backup, that's great. And if none of that, inclines you to go to use Signal, well, Elon Musk recommends it, so hey, why don't you use that? Anyway, I really do like Signal. It's the app that I recommend using. Maybe there's other ones out there that you recommend, but that's the one that I like and that I use, and a lot of people have moved to with an increased concern or worry about privacy. Now, there are a few people who are conspiracy theory folks out there who think that it's actually a US government application that's being deployed, and it's really being marketed as this really secure tool, but it's really not. It's got some backdoor that the government is seeing everything well, is that possible? I mean, as far as we know, I suppose it could be. The problem is that it is open source, so people can download the code and look at it, and people who know what they're doing are able to look at it and see if that kind of thing is the case. And I haven't heard any reputable source say that it is. So as far as I know, it is a secure app, and it's probably one of the best out there. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Signal app, and this is High Riding Threads. I hope you come back again. Like and subscribe. Thanks.